Lisa Curtis, if I could begin with you. To even call the turn of events that we've seen in American politics in the last 2 months shocking would be a gross understatement. It's not as if Americans are unfamiliar with political violence. But fact of the matter is that even though this country is more polarized today than perhaps it has been in decades, it still comes as an absolute shocker. The kind of resurgence in political violence that we've seen in recent times, to alleged assassination attempts on former President Donald Trump. The question really is, what do you think is leading to this kind of political violence that America had not seen in a very long time? And are things going to get much worse in the run-up to Election Day, in your view?
Well, thank you. Look, it is shocking. I can't think of a different word to call it, that here in the United States of America, there has been a second assassination attempt against one of the presidential candidates. The United States must be able to carry out the democratic process free of violence. So it's absolutely critical that the U.S. is able to protect both presidential candidates as they are out campaigning, meeting with crowds, carrying on their lives in this case. So I think one of the issues that needs to be looked at is whether there are enough resources, whether the Secret Service has allocated enough resources to protecting both presidential candidates. And I know that traditionally, of course, the actual president of the United States receives the most Secret Service resources, which is the correct thing. But I think given the fact that we've had now 2 assassination attempts against one of the presidential candidates, the Secret Service must look at whether there is a need for more resources to be placed on both presidential candidates in this case. So this is really a devastating time for the United States. I'm embarrassed that this is happening in our peaceful democratic process. You asked what is leading to this. I don't think anybody knows. I think in both of these cases, we will see that mental health issues are playing a role in both of these attempts. Certainly, everybody needs to introspect and look at their own political rhetoric and whether or not that is contributing to this overall sense of, anything goes, people resulting to violence, resorting to violence. Every candidate has to look at their rhetoric, make sure it is appropriate and is not fueling this sense that the peaceful democratic process is under threat here in the United States.
Unfortunately, it is this anything goes environment that seems to be prevailing at the moment, Lisa, and that should be a cause of concern for every American citizen who values the country's democracy. Let me ask you this question. Of course, the 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump are absolutely terrible and condemnable. But then, in the midst of all of this, you have Elon Musk, the owner of social media platform X, who Donald Trump has said he would induct into his cabinet if re-elected to the White House. Elon Musk goes ahead and says on his own platform, how come no one is even trying to assassinate Biden or Harris? Now, if this is not incitement to violence against another presidential candidate and the serving president of the United States of America, I don't know what is. What do you make of it?
Well, you're absolutely right. That was a completely irresponsible comment by Elon Musk. And it's comments like that that will only fuel this environment, like you said, of anything goes and resorting to violence. So I think, every person needs to look at their rhetoric, how they are talking, how they are speaking, to ensure they're not contributing to this violent this violence and this polarization, unfortunately, that we see. Certainly, we can have debates, we can have differences between the candidates. All of that is expected in the democratic process, but it's this resorting to violence or even supporting in your rhetoric the idea of violence. That is what is so problematic. And unfortunately, Elon Musk's comments have only contributed to this kind of environment, and it needs to stop.
It certainly needs to stop. Well, subsequently, he did delete that post, but only after facing a severe backlash on the social media.